Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and today we are joined by LaDarrion Williams. He is a playwright, filmmaker, screenwriter, and actor, and now he is also the debut author of the novel Blood at the Root. Blood at the Root is a YA fantasy story about a teen runaway who arrives at an HBCU for magical youths. The book is all about community, history, Black culture, and it is as thrilling as it is innovative. Today, LaDarrion and I talk about how he came up with this story, why it was important to write it for young Black boys, and also how he's handled criticism both as a playwright and now as an author. There are no spoilers on today's episode. Remember, actor and author Jay Ellis will be back on The Stacks to discuss our August book club pick, Master Slave, Husband, Wife by Il-Yeon Wu. You can hear that episode on August 28th. Quick reminder, everything we talk about on each episode of The Stacks can be found in the link in the show notes. If you love this show and you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks and join the Stacks Pack. For just $5 a month, you get to be part of the best bookish community around. You get to join us on Discord, come to our monthly virtual book club meetups. You get a bonus episode each month, and you get to know that by joining the Stacks Pack, you make it possible for me to make this podcast every single week. Another fun perk of the Stacks Pack is that you get a shout out on this very podcast. So here's a huge thank you to our newest members of the Stacks Pack, Kelly Selberg, Lauren, Stacy, Annalisa Campos, Tanya Keda, Jennifer Heron, Daniel Elroy, and Intense Beat. Thank you all so much. And for those of you who want to support the show, but maybe are less interested in an interactive community experience, you can go to tracythomas.substack.com and subscribe to my newsletter. There you can check out everything I'm up to, get my hot takes on books and pop culture. It goes right to your email inbox and you don't have to interact with a single other human. Again, that's tracythomas.substack.com. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Now it's time for my conversation with LaDarrion Williams. Okay, everybody, I'm really excited. I have a debut author as well as a playwright here on the podcast. Their book is called Blood at the Root. It is a YA magical fantasy HBCU Black boy centric story. The author is LaDarrion Williams. LaDarrion, welcome to The Stacks.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. Before we talk about the book, I'm just going to tell everybody our quick origin story. As many of you know, my favorite bookstore is Reparations Club here in LA, and I do a thing with them on Independent Bookstore Day where I go and I recommend books all day, and I just am like their guest bookseller. And when I was there, I'd just gotten there for my shift, and this guy walks in, and he's like kind of, looking around, kind of being quiet, whatever. And then kind of comes over and is like, hey, my name's LaDarrion Williams and my book's coming out really soon. And we were all like, oh, congratulations. Like, what's your book called? Whatever. He was like, it's called Blood at the Root. And Jazzy and the team at Rep Club was like, oh my God, we have that in the back. We have the arc in the back. So exciting. Oh my God. And I was like, I don't know about this because I'm not really a YA fantasy girl at all. And you were like telling me about the book. And I was like, okay, well, let's just take a picture because sounds like this might be a thing. And now here we are talking about your book. Your book has been so successful so far. I saw you posted on Twitter that you've already sold 20,000 copies in 2 months, which is huge.
It's huge, very huge for a debut author, especially a debut Black author. It's very huge.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I want you to tell people in about 30 seconds or so just about the book. You can do a better job than what I just did.
Oh, pressure. Yes. Blood at the Root is a young adult fantasy. It's a contemporary fantasy about a young Black boy named Malik Barron who gets accepted into a magical HBCU called Kamen University. And he must go there to learn about his ancestral magic, meet new friends, but also uncover some dark secrets surrounding his mother's mysterious disappearance. And, he has to figure out some clues because somebody there may or may not have something to do with her disappearance. So, yeah, it's a first in a trilogy. I'm currently working on the sequel. So for those who read the book in one day and have to wait, sorry, I'm working on the sequel right now.
Okay, let's start there. I wasn't going to start there, but let's start there. You're working on the sequel. When you started the first book, did you know it was going to be a trilogy?
So when I started on the first book, Technically, it was supposed to be a TV show, but when I went into the book, I knew it was supposed to be three
Mhm.
and possibly some spinoffs.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
but yeah, it's three, and I'm so glad that my publishers, Penguin Random House, contracted me for three books. So it's really great as a Black fantasy writer to be able to tell his story in a full scope in three books. So yeah, a whole trilogy.
Okay. And don't be mad at me, but I have to ask this question. How long is it going to take you to finish the second book? Like what's the wait time for those of us interested?
I can't give a specific date, but let's just say it comes out next summer.
Oh, okay. So we don't have to wait long.
No, we don't have to. You don't have to wait like 2, 3, 4 years. Uh, I have a full draft.
Okay.
I'm in that that weird. Why did they contract me to write a book? I'm not good.
The self-doubt phase.
It's the self-doubt phase, which I hate, but I know it's just one of those things you just have to work through,
Yeah.
and it's like building a house, right? You have to lay the foundation and all the cement, all everything, and so yeah, it's just a weird phase I'm with the book right now. It's just I'm like, this is not good, but it's gonna get there.
It'll get there.
It's a process.
Did you feel that way about the first book? Did you feel like, oh my God, it's not good. What am I doing? Why did they buy this book?
I felt well because the first book poured out of me easier because I was so fired up. At the time, I was very hurt and I was very depressed and disappointed about like just the way the industry was going
I see.
at the time, and so I was it was pouring out of me. It was very challenging when I ended up working with an editor because my editor was asking questions about story and plot, and I'm like, so that means I have to unravel this whole entire book and go back and start over. But that's a part of the process. And yeah, but this one it's that sophomore, that sophomore book syndrome.
Yeah.
It's hard because you're expanding. I'm expanding the world and the magic systems and introducing new characters. So
Right.
yeah,
And
it's
also you're
hard.
still confined to the world.
Exactly,
Like you
exactly.
still have to stay like I think sometimes maybe people are like done with
Mhm.
their first book and they're like, okay, I'm done with this for now. And it's like you still have to be there, but also like make it bigger and different, but also like you're still with Malik. Like we're still here.
Yeah, he's growing and he's also dealing with some of the ramifications from the first book. And how does that my editor is calling it internal and external stakes. Like we have to really nail
Mm,
down those that in this book. And so it's hard to balance because I want to have it's college, right? I want to
yeah.
have some fun
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and have him you know, go to these different type of classes for 200 pages, but like we still have to keep the internal and external plot. So that's something I'm learning
Yeah.
with this book is making sure those are still intact.
Yeah. Okay. Ugh, I had a totally different plan for this interview, but I'm already pivoting. We're just going to go with
Uh-oh.
it because I have a background in theater and you're a playwright. And so I want to know sort of for you, as you're talking about internal, external, I'm thinking, right, because in a play, you don't do internal necessarily. Like that's the actor's job. And so you
Exactly.
write the text and, some people do and don't believe in subtext, and that's probably a different conversation. But like you write a story and it's almost all plot and the sort of internal character development stuff generally comes from the actor. So has that been like a big challenge for you trying to figure out how to draw that out?
Such a good question. It's been a very big challenge for me. Even after Blood at the Root came out, I real writing a book is very hard and it takes a lot of craft. And writing a play is very hard. But
Yeah.
what I love about theater, and that's why theater is always going to be my first love, is that when I'm tinkering with a play, when I'm struggling with it, wrestling with it, I can hand it over to a director and actors, and
Hmm.
we can go into a theater or a rehearsal hall and just grind it out. I literally just left a playwriting residency where we were in the rehearsal hall for like 8 to 9 hours a day.
Mm,
I was rewriting. I was working with the dramaturg. I was literally rewriting the whole play every single day because I was being inspired by actors and director and the conversations that we were having in the room. with the book, it's just me. Literally today, I was working on it this morning. It's just me and this character Malik. I have to be this vessel for this young boy to tell me his story. And there's a lot, and I want to add my things into it, but he wants to, no, this is how my story this is how I want my story to go. It's still internal, but there's no extra actors for me to, work this out with, and wrestle out the scenes with. So it's a big challenge. Writing a book is hard, y'all.
Yeah. Do you ever think about bringing like some of the ways that plays are worked through to your novel writing, whether that's like giving pages to people or like even having actors read it out loud to you so you can hear it? Like, have you ever considered that kind of stuff?
I think that's going to be something I'm going to consider. Like, I'm still in that awkward phase.
Yeah, like not ready for people to read it yet.
Not ready for people to read it because they were like, LaDarrion, you have to turn this book in a month. You should be writing 24 hours a day. But maybe maybe once I get, into copy edits and line edits, maybe I can hand it off to people who are actors. And I'm just saying, hey, what do you think about this scene? Like, if you're reading this, is it, because I want to make sure too, while writing a book, I want to make sure it's still cinematic.
Yeah.
And that was some great feedback that I got from book one. People were saying, oh my gosh, like this needs to be a TV show because I could see the world. One person was like, I could feel the Alabama heat, that the humidity, that the music and the laughter and like the dialects of the characters. So I infuse a lot of my screenwriting and playwriting of it all into this book. So definitely once I get to a comfortable place.
Okay. I definitely was reading this and was like, I got to see it. I got to see it. And that's coming?
It's coming. I can't say too much on it, but we are developing it as a TV show. So it's coming. It's going to be fun. Like just some of the stuff that we had, in the meetings, like just some of the ideas that me and my showrunners are talking about. Oh, it's going to be epic. It's just going to be great to see Black people on screen just wielding magic and having fun. And also infusing a lot of that HBCU culture because my showrunners went to an HBCU. So it's so great they're providing that air as well. Like the little secrets that, that a lot of us don't know about HBCU. So it's going to be fun to intermingle that with magic on a TV show. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to go back now to what I was planning to start with, which is the book starts with an author's note. Mm-hmm. And you write to young Black boys about sort of being represented on the page.
Yeah.
And, my assumption from reading that and having heard you talk and stuff is that, you're really writing towards Black boys. And I want to know, why do you feel like there's a need to be directed towards Black boys as opposed to Black children more broadly? And also, have you heard from Black boys? What are they telling you about the book?
Yeah. I wrote, we always hear authors say that, I wrote the book for me because I didn't see myself reflected in the pages, right? So when I was in high school, there was Percy Jackson. I love Percy Jackson. Okay. I heard there's like 16 books now, but when I was in high school, there were only 3.
Okay.
And like, I love that story, but I was like, well, from the cover, I was like, he definitely don't look like me. And the way in the pages, I was like, well, he doesn't talk like a country Black boy from Alabama. I'm from Alabama. And I was like, just looking at my friends growing up and how we used to love like, those little Disney original movies on Friday nights, how they used to be like, they have like the fantasy ones, they have the contemporary ones. And I just, over the years, not seeing myself reflected in the books, it actually made me stop reading for a very long time because I was an avid reader. I even read the entire Left Behind series. Don't judge me, but I did.
I don't even know what that is.
It was like the Christian dogma books about Jesus coming back and rapturing everybody. It's a big fantasy theory, a big Christian series, and it was like 12 or 13 books, and I read the entire series as like a 14-year-old.
Okay.
I know. But for years I stopped reading, and when I remember seeing like Children of Blood and Bone making a lot of headway, and I was like, and I saw The Hate You Give, and I was like, whoa, what's happening in the book industry? And so I started reading those books, and I started kind of getting back in, and then after Hollywood was telling me no about my short film of Blood at the Root and the script, I was like, well, I want to get back into reading because I just need something to inspire me. And I went to Barnes and Noble in Burbank And I asked the clerk, I said, hey, I'm trying to get back into reading. I would love to read some fantasy books with Black boys at the forefront. And mind you, at the time, this was during like 2020, we all know a lot was going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Pandemic and racial civil unrest. And I just needed to escape. I just needed to not see me as a Black man being constantly killed on screen and in books and in plays. And it was just, I couldn't get away from that. And the clerk took me over to the YA section and she was looking up and down and I was looking up and down. And at that time, in the young adult fantasy space, we really couldn't find a book with a Black boy on the cover. And she looked very embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it made me feel like that 17-year-old kid again that quit reading all those years. And there were some Black boys in books, but they were like relegated to like the side.
Right, like best friend, Black best friend.
Best friend, or like they were getting killed. And I'm not saying those stories are not important. They're very, very important.
Right.
I wanted to see the interiority of a young Black boy's life going through the motions, like falling in love, having magic, having everything. And so at that moment, I declared, I said, well, I'm going to go write this book. Then I'm going to turn this screenplay, because Hollywood kept telling me no, into a book. And so I locked myself in my apartment for 12 days straight, living off of Cheez-Its and Oreos. And I wrote the first draft of Blood at the Root, the novel. And yeah, that was like 2-3 years ago.
How long did it take you to write the draft? Do you remember?
12 days. Yeah.
12 days. That's it.
It took 12 days to crank out a whole draft.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you heard from Black boys now that the book's in the world? What are they telling you?
Yeah. They're even like some of my cousins, they're like 16 or 17 years old, and they still live in the same neighborhood that Malik grew up in. And they're reading it, and they was like they call me Montel because my middle name is Montel. No relations to Montel Williams.
Okay. Of course.
Yeah.
Can't go.
But they were telling me like, man, like, thank you so much for writing this, because one, they were like, we get to see how you grew up, and in the same spot, like they were like, these are the same streets that we still run around, but like, 15, 20 years ago, you were running these same streets, going to the candy lady house, going to the basketball court. And for them to read that is so beautiful. And they're telling me like they feel seen and they feel heard. I did some signings for young Black boys at a magnet school, and it was so beautiful to see, because this magnet program were only created for Black children. And seeing those Black
here in LA?
In LA, I forgot what it was. I forgot the school. I know it was somewhere in like Brentwood, and it was like these beautiful Black children like coming in, rushing in to get free books. And they were picking up the book, and I remember seeing one boy like putting the book beside him, like his face. He was like, yo, like, and I heard his friend, he was like, yo, that looks like you, dude. Like, that looks like you. And that's very powerful. And that's why I told my publishers, it was a non-negotiable for me. Even before signing this contract, I was like, I have to have a young Black boy in a hoodie on the cover, because imagery is very powerful and it can inspire like everything. I remember growing up, Bud Not Buddy and The Watsons Go to Birmingham were some of the only books I've seen with a Black boy on the cover that looked like me. So I knew imagery was very inspiring. So to hear that from parents and librarians and teachers and educators saying I can finally give a book to some of the Black boy students in our classrooms, because they look like him. Malik talks like them. They can see like, oh, I do matter. My story matters as well, because I came from the same place that Malik comes from, or I experienced some of the same things he experienced. So it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing to see.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one more thing about the author's note.
Yeah.
Why did you want to put it at the beginning of the book? What were you hoping to impart to your readers before they ever even meet Malik?
Yeah, I mean, the author's note was, I wrote it. I didn't know how they were going to put it in the book. I wrote an article about the same thing. My editors was like, it's so beautiful how you articulate the need. I think it's an inspiration to whoever gets in. Like, Malik may not talk the way you want him to talk. He may not act the way you want him to act, because he's a 17-year-old kid. I just need you to, before you go in and read the author's note, to learn that this is a Black boy and this is his story. And he at the forefront. He's going to deal with some trials and tribulations, of course, But I need people to understand, like, Malik is a type of boy that I'm going to be honest, a lot of educators, a lot of teachers push to the back and ignore. A lot of even a lot of family members, a lot of people in the neighborhoods, like, oh, that young boy, he's just acting like he's troublesome. He acting like a thug. He acting like this, but don't even know he has 1,000 stories inside of him that's just waiting to be told. And it's also too a call out to the industry, to say that it shouldn't take this book to make it mainstream for a young teenage Black boy in YA fantasy for you to see him and to know him. And so, yeah, and I'm glad my editors and my publishers put it at the forefront, because I'm getting so many comments saying, man, like people are like, I don't even read author's note because I'm just ready to get to the story. But the way it's written, they're like, oh, we know what type of tone this book is about to have. We about to see the poetry and the everydayness of Black people living in the South. Like, knowing that, our grandmothers and our aunties and our uncles, they may say some of the most outlandish things and some of the most things you like, oh, you shouldn't be saying that. Yeah. But to know that there's poetry, because I think about my mom, who is a beautiful Black woman who's been living in Alabama for 60 years, and she always feels like she's not represented a lot of the times in media. And I think about my aunties and my uncles who used to sit out in the front yard and chewing on spitting out tobacco, right? And telling stories and going to the candy lady house and sitting at the feet of your grandmother and learning about the wisdom of God, right? Because the matriarch of the family who holds the family together, that's what I poured into that author's note. It's not just a Black boy's journey, but this is what's poured into him, and this is what you're going to see throughout the book.
Yeah. And I think you do such a good job in the book of like creating that community that you're talking about. There's so many characters in the book that are like archetypes in Black families and Black communities. And I really loved seeing that. Like Mama Aya, obviously, like Uncle Sam is like, that's the person like that's you know who that is. And like
drinking Hennessy and smoking cigars.
Exactly. Like, and like, Alexis, like, it's like, there's all these, it's not just Malik who, I mean, I would argue, like, kind of based off what you're saying, is maybe the least recognizable archetype in the book, right? Because like we don't get as many stories that center Black boys who aren't like, perceived as like exceptional students, who are sort of seen as like troublemakers or troubled. But a lot of the other figures around him, like the headmaster of the school, or what is he called? The chancellor.
The chancellor, yeah.
The chancellor, like that's a really recognizable version of a certain kind of Black man, and like and his mother as well. And so like I think I really liked, like, it's like as soon as we even like learn their names, I was like, oh, I know who that is, right? Let's take a quick break because I do want to talk about the names. Valentine's Day is upon us, and I've got love on the brain. Love for books, duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to traceythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. Okay, we're back. I said I wanted to talk about names, and that's where we'll go to. How were you thinking of naming your characters? There's a lot of like Creole in this book. The HBCU is not just for Black Americans, it is
Mm.
global diaspora. The school is part of a network of other magical HBCUs, and they're all over the world. So I know you were drawing on like different languages and different cultures, but like how were you thinking about who got what name and what the names sounded like and looked like on the page?
Yeah, such a beautiful question. In the Black community, names are very, very important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's often passed down. We often make up names. And some people, you hear some people like, now why would you name your baby that? But like
Yeah.
I think we don't even know, but that comes from our ancestry, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we create names. Names have power. And when our ancestor was brought over here, what was the first thing that a lot of the colonial white people did? They took away the names. That was the first
Yeah.
thing, because the name have power. It has identity. So I was very intentional on naming a lot of the characters, not just all willy nilly. And I'm gonna be honest, I did steal some of my family members' names, and I go to Facebook, be like, I'm sorry, I got to put your government name up in there.
Yeah.
Um, but even down to like Malik Barron, I was like, well, Malik, I knew what Malik mean, and I know my friend, she has a cousin, and he's like the same age, and his name is Malik. And it was beautiful to see, like, he was like, I've never seen my name in a book before. So
Mm,
when he opened up the book, he was like, that's my name. Like, that's so
yeah.
cool. Even Baron Bawan Samdi, like, it's very Haitian Creole. Like, I drew on a lot of inspiration from Haitian cosmology and religion, because it's not talked about. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
I didn't learn about the Haitian Revolution until I was in my 20s.
Oh wow.
Thank you, Alabama school systems. But because the history of it was hidden away from us.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because they took away, that was the first, it was the names and it was the history behind the names. So like Danye, a lot of people say Danja Devereaux. I'm like, no, it's Danye, because
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite playwrights, his name is Danye R. Love. He wrote a beautiful play called Sugar in Our Wounds, about two slave men falling in love.
Mm.
And I was just like, hey, I messaged him. I was like, hey, I really love the name Danye, because it's spelled Donja, but I was like, but it's so beautiful how you pronounce it. I was like, can I use it for the book? And he was like, yeah, like, use it. And so that's how I came up with Danye Devereaux, Alexis, Savan, and Elijah. Like, using some, Elijah comes from the Bible, right? Like, I
Right.
know a lot of Black people name their kids from the Bible. Mama Aya is this, like, because we think of like priestess, right? Mambos, right? Mambo, like Mambos. Those are the women priestess in voodoo and hoodoo religion, spirituality. And so I wanted to name her Mama Aya,
Mm.
because there's power in that name.
Mm-hmm.
And Chancellor Taryn, because I was like, okay, I need a bougie name.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, for
and I,
sure.
I was like, what's a bougie? And I was like, ooh, Bonclair, like
Yeah.
Chancellor Taryn Bonclair. And yeah, and all the tribes and the covens. And I was like, I drew on a lot of Creole inspiration.
Speaking of sort of like the history that's in the book, how much research were you doing? And like how much of the magical stuff is completely made up by you and how much of
Mhm.
it draws on religious and spiritual practices in other places and in the States?
Yeah, so just growing up in the South for me, like, I think my experience was a lot of research, because I had an interesting conversation with my mom, because she was like, when I first sold the book, she was like, can I ask you a question? I was like, what's up? She was like, why do you like magic? Like, why do you write
Mm.
magic? Like, because she was like, because you could tell there was still that, because she used to say growing up, like, Harry Potter was that devil worshiping magic.
Ugh.
And she was like, why do you watch that devil? Why do you write that devil worshiping magic type stuff? And I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna have to have a conversation.
Mhm.
And I was like, you see that cinnamon broom that's on your wall right now? She's like, yeah. I was like, where do you think that came from? Why do Black people hang brooms on their wall, like, especially cinnamon brooms? And I was like, you remember Auntie blah 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 was sweep from the back of the house all the way to the front and all the way out in the sidewalk and up to the street? She's like, yeah. She's like, yeah. She used to do that all the time. I was like, where do you think that came from? And going through church, and I grew up in a Southern Baptist church. People used to fall out in the spirit and talk in
Mhm.
tongues and be filled with the Holy Ghost and drink, and do communion. I was like, that's hoodoo. that was
Yeah.
passed down from generations to generations. So, and I didn't realize that until I started. I was like, wait a minute. I remember that, or I remember that. And my mom, like, when you have like heartburn, pour some mustard in a spoon and eat mustard, or rub an onion under your foot because either like you're dealing with some type of ailment or illness. And I was like, all these home style remedies are passed down from my grandmothers and our great grandmothers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that was beautiful. Like the stories and the customs, that was like part of my research, but also for the Haitian Revolution. I was like, I found out there was a group of people down there. They believed they won the war because they called on the gods.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, gods? I was like, what kind of gods they got? And
Mm-hmm.
I realized, and I was like, oh, wait, there's black gods?
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, because we only learned about Greek mythology, and I was
Right.
like, there's Orisha, there's beautiful black women who are gods and goddesses like Oshun and Oya, who will tear everything up if you make her mad, and
Right.
Shango and Ogun, and it was so beautiful to learn all of that and to incorporate that into the book in the lens of a 17-year-old black boy who's learning everything about his ancestry. Because again, a lot of us don't know about our ancestry, right? Because it was
Right.
stolen away from us. But to
Right.
put it back into the hands of the descendants is such a beautiful thing. And that's why that was kind of like a part of my research
Yeah.
process.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. I always am fascinated this with YA authors because there is an expectation that you are going to teach the young people something.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that is what you set out to do, it's usually something that's sort of pressed upon YA books. Like this book has to teach kids or show kids something. But I know as a young person who read books, never YA books, I was always reading adult books, that a lot of young people go to books to be entertained, just like adults do. So how did you balance sort of like infusing your book with this history that we're talking about of this magical spiritual stuff of the Haitian Revolution of, there's a lot of things that are like being taught to us, I think, throughout the book. Things that I learned, but also I'm assuming a lot of things that I knew that kids are learning for the first time. So how do you balance the entertainment and the like teaching part of it?
Yeah, I think it comes from like if any writers are listening, they're gonna, if you read Sid Field's Save the Cat, right? There's like plot beats that you should want to follow as you're writing your script or your play or your novel. And there's a plot beat called Fun and Games. And Fun and Games is kind of like the promise of the premise type of thing. So obviously with Blood at the Root, the Fun and Games, the promise of the premise is the magical HBCU. Right. So we see there's a chapter that literally falls under the line of the Fun and Games where Malik is introduced to the HBCU and he's seeing kids look just like him, creating mini tornadoes and jumping like 100 feet in the air to dunk a basketball. He's seeing them like run with speed and transform into like birds and animals. And he's seeing all of this. And it's not to teach you, oh, this is it could be seen as info dumping, but also it's like, no, this is fun. Like, this is kind of stroking like I wish I could go to that school. Like people are reading it like, oh, I wish I can be a part of Cayman University because I never felt like that, or getting that letter, right? Getting the acceptance letter. So it's infusing that, but also trying to slip in, oh, like there's the Haitian Revolution. Oh, there's I kind of got a little bit of flack for it, but there was the watermelon scene where Malik was like, this is kind of stereotypical that watermelon is replenishing our magic, but also there's a history behind it because we all know why watermelon is seen as stereotypical because Black people were making money after slavery selling fruit. That's why they went into our neighborhoods and killed all the trees that bear fruit seeds, and that's why they came up with those stereotypes. So it's kind of like slipping in those little moments of like history. And some people may say, okay, that was a little corny, or some people like, okay, I just want to be entertained. But I think for me, writing, I stand on the shoulders of August Wilson and Lorraine Hansberry and Toni Morrison. They were entertaining, but they also taught a lot of us, and Zora Neale Hurston as well. Like they taught a lot of us because I think it's because books are being banned, especially Black books. I think it's important to infuse a lot of our Black history into books because it could be fun. It's not all about slavery. It's not all about the trauma and the strife of Black people. There's some fun things that, our people did. And I think, the generation should know and to see it in a very entertaining way. It is hard. I will say it is very difficult to
Yeah.
balance. And that's something I'm learning. I'm learning not only from book two, but I'm learning from book one, I'm sorry, but book two as well.
Yeah. Okay. You brought up getting flack. You brought
Hmm.
up trauma.
Hmm.
You were sort of, the book has been pitched as like Black boy joy, no racial trauma. And I know people on the internet have pushed back against that aggressively.
Yeah, let's
And
talk. Yeah.
you push back against their pushback. So I
Hmm.
do want to talk about it a little bit. I think I want to know, to you, what do you mean when you say there's no racial trauma in the book?
Yes, and I will say, like, because even making that tweet, Twitter, you can only make at the time you can only make
Yeah.
140 characters, right?
Yeah.
So I went back and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I actually misspoke."
Uh-huh.
And let me clarify. At the time, I was when I wrote Blood at the Root, the TV show version, I was very angry
Yeah.
about the representation, and I was just very angry about like the state of the country and what we were going through. And I was just like, as a Black man, and I'm looking to my nephew who's 13, going on 30. He's literally Tay.
Okay.
And yeah, and I was just like, he's at a point where he should be seeing Black boys like him having fun
Right.
and falling in love and having cool magical powers and having epic adventures. And at the time when I wrote Blood at the Root, I was just only seeing Black men just being shot and killed
Right.
and bleeding out on.
Right.
Again, I'm a playwright, so it was in the playwriting world.
Mm.
It was on TV and film, and it was in books. And as a Black man who was going through that every single day,
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to escape this. Like, we don't get to see the interiority of these Black men who are shot and killed. We only see their lives being uh, humanized after their death.
Hmm.
Like when I say Black Lives Matter, I don't mean it in death. I mean Black dreams and Black hopes and fears and happiness and tears. And so that's what I meant when I didn't want the focal point, and I should have put the word focal point
Yeah.
in a lot of my tweets. I didn't want the focal point of Malik's story to be racial trauma
Yeah.
and him getting killed by police. That's why I put him in a hoodie because with Trayvon Martin, we really during that time we really didn't know who he was. That's why I love what Ava did with Origin, right? She provided a lot of the backstory to him, how he loved to laugh on the phone with his
Hmm.
friends, how he
Hmm.
loved going to the store, he loved Skittles, he loved like the beauty. There was one scene where you saw the Black boy sitting outside of the pool, but he still smiled and he still like laid
Hmm.
it, like the beauty of it. And so that's where I come from when I said that. I want to see the beauty of
Yeah.
this of a Black boy's life because again, like I love that my nephew is so smart and he loves video games and but also he has this type of wisdom that you don't really get to see on
Hmm.
the page, right? That's why I
Hmm.
wrote Tay. Like Tay is and he loves to cook. We
Yeah.
don't see young Black boys loving to cook. We don't
Right.
see, Malik is smiling. He falls in love with, and as soon as he sees Alexis, right? He goes on to this beautiful poetic diatribe about like how beautiful she is and how she
Hmm.
reminds him of the summer rain and them going to
Mm.
the fairs and them going to the candy lady house with 50 cents and giving her and eating sour straw. Like we don't get to see that in real time
Yeah.
unless the Black boy is taken out of the story and
Yeah.
is killed. And that's where I was coming from when I said that. And I did get a little pushback, but I guess it's starting a conversation because a lot of people were like, well, dang, we really don't get to see this. I do. And I have parents messaging me like, thank you for writing Blood at the Root because now my Black boy feels seen. Is
Hmm.
to see him is to know him.
Right.
That's all. That's where I come from when I made those statements.
Yeah. And I think like what it made me think about, right? Like this term like racial trauma. I think it also makes me think about like what kind of trauma is not
Mm,
racialized, right? And
mm,
like what kind of trauma are Black people like allowed to have that isn't police brutality or the legacy of like or like slavery like
mhm,
depicted, right? And like in this case, and this is not a spoiler because it's where the book starts, Malik is in foster care because his mother has been killed in this weird situation. And so he's taken away. And like that is extremely traumatizing for a child. But is that racial trauma? You know, or like, is that just traumatizing for kids and not, I mean, obviously we can get into the history of the foster care system and all of that. And like everything in America is racialized. But when you sort of, when you take it to like just storytelling purposes, nobody says that like, you know, I'm trying to think like all those Pixar movies, it always starts with like the mom dying or the dad dying.
Like
no one's like,
Nemo.
Yeah. No one's like, oh, Nemo has like racialized trauma. It's just like, this is a traumatic event that starts the action of the book or the movie. And so I was also kind of thinking about like, what does it mean to be racial trauma versus just general trauma?
General trauma. I think, it's so interesting as Black writers and creatives. We hear, because we do hear a lot of, we just want Black characters in movies to not experience Black trauma, and I completely understand that, and I also understand where Black writers are sometimes coming from. I think what's missing from the conversation, our Black trauma is only publicized or put on the screen to teach white people about our lives, and that's what I really meant. I didn't, for me. Just growing up, I just remember, right? Like, just like a lot of the times we see a lot of white people writing slave movies and we only see the brutalization and yes, and it happened. Trust me, it did.
Yeah.
But I love what one of my favorite playwrights, Dominique Morisseau, she wrote a play called Confederates, and it talks about slavery, but also it dips between that time and this time. But she said, but she was like, I know it talks about slaves and that's the trauma, but she also was like, y'all do realize that slaves were talking shit, right? They were laughing and they were cracking jokes on each other and they was dancing. And like a lot of the TikTok dances that we see, it comes from the Juba dancing, and like that's historical because Black slaves during church, they used to dance around and they used to literally judge each other off of their dance moves. And so that's, yes, it's traumatic, but like what I meant was I didn't want the focal point of his story to be racial trauma. Yeah, he's going to learn about his history through his grandmother, but he's going to learn that his great grandmother had magic and she could transform things, and she got herself to freedom using her magic that they so desperately tried to take away.
Yeah.
So in that, you still learn, but I just didn't want to teach white readers, hey, look at me, this is what Black people go through because of trauma. No, it's just, and trauma and conflict, I think sometimes a lot of people get those mixed up.
Yeah.
You know, but we can still go through conflict.
Right. Exactly. And I think also like just hearing you talk about that play and what you were saying about like so many films about like slavery are written by white people. It's like, okay, well, why can't we have a chance also to tell our own stories, our own traumas, right? It's like, oh, everyone's all of a sudden tired of Black trauma, but it's like, well, bitch, I haven't even started yet. Like,
we haven't started.
Like, you're tired of Steven Spielberg's version, but like, may I tell you about my history? And I feel like that's a thing that's always very frustrating to me. And I'm also a person who really likes traumatic stories. Like, I like to read about like the history and like I have a small obsession with the Holocaust. Like I just like reading about some of the darkest times, but I am invigorated when I get to read a story by a Black person about one of those times, right? Like it's almost like an erasure. It's like, oh, well, we're not doing this anymore. And so you shouldn't be able to even, you know, like, I think sometimes that's the impulse of like, we're more than our trauma and therefore we're not going to do this anymore. And like, I think I saw a tweet or something where someone was like, how many World War II movies do we have?
Exactly. Because it seems like World War II movies, I think at a point, it seemed like they were coming out every single year.
Every minute.
And they were winning all the Oscars.
All the Oscars. Like, Dunkirk, 1990. I guess that's World War I. Anyways, but yes.
But I get what you're saying. Like those we were.
And that was such a small period of history, right? Like World War II, American chattel slavery we were enslaved longer than we've been free.
Exactly.
Like, so it's like and I hear what you're saying, that like you didn't want to do that, and that is totally, you're right. But I also think this idea that like we shouldn't be doing it, that a lot of people push back on, or people being like, I only want to see Black boy joy or whatever, is like, okay. But also like Black people can be joyous in a book that is set during the worst of times, because we have been able to do that. That is our part of our story, and that's part of our magic.
Exactly. Like, because I get what people are saying. Like, well, we thought this was Black boy joy. Well, did you not read the part when he was going through the college and he was smiling to himself?
Yeah.
And he was feeling like a little kid again. And when he saw Alexis, and when they went to, and I don't want to spoil a lot, but but there's a lot of joyous moments. But like, we all grew up. Like, I'm pretty sure every Black person who grew up in the church was like, what's the saying? Pain may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. You gotta get through the pain to get to the joy. You know, even in joy, like there's like I don't want to have the conversation of like, let's erase our ancestors, what they went through, because even in that traumatic, moments, again, just like Dominique Morisseau said about her play, they still cracked jokes, and they were drinking, and they was partying, like it. I mean, they was in the segregation South, right? They was still partying and still having like all those good times. Like, I love in Lovecraft Country, right? How that scene where they was having that house party and everybody was dancing, and it was like boom, boom, boom. And then as soon as the white people came out and tried to disrupt their dancing, Journey Smollett's character took that bat and she bashed all their cars in.
Yeah.
That was joyful to see.
Yeah.
Like that was so cool to see, because it was in those moments. A lot of times, I feel like if a white person would have wrote that, they would have just had those Black characters just, well, let's pack up and go home and not party anymore. But I love that moment. And even like the music that they added like the modern day music in that. Like, it's like, yeah, like, let's go. Like, that brought joy for me to see that Black woman walk through fire with a book in her hand, even though something very traumatic happened in Tulsa. Even in the Tulsa episode, you saw the Black kids getting ready for prom. I didn't know that until I did my own research. Tulsa massacre happened on the night of these Black kids' proms.
Wow.
It was sad because they didn't get to experience some of those seniors didn't get to experience their prom.
Right.
But there was a lot of joy in, like, not in the Tulsa massacre. I'm not saying there was a lot of joy. But I think we only focus on the Tulsa massacre, but we didn't. But I would have loved to see them going to the movies, right? Because they had their own movie theaters, they had their own banks and their own entertainment. Yeah, it's a balance. I think a lot of times Black audiences, we got tired of seeing only slave movies, and they were only written from a sole perspective of, because you see the white writer, the white director, and the white producers,
and the white savior in the film, of course.
Brad Pitt. And even though that wasn't even true, like that was, and even in Hidden Figures, right? Kevin Costner's character he didn't even exist.
Right.
And they had him knock down the colored only bathroom sign.
Yeah.
I think that's where people are tired of the Black trauma, because it's told through the lens of a white person.
I think the telling through the lens of a white person specifically. And again, like I am a pro-trauma person, and I also respect people who are like, I don't fucking want that. And like, I am grateful that there are creatives and readers who want only joyous depictions, and that is within your right to write and to read and everything. And the opposite is true to me too. But I do think it's really interesting that you got so much pushback about that language, because I do think, like, in my reading, like, I mean, in my understanding of history, you cannot divorce racial trauma from the experience of Black people in America. It's not possible. Even if you write a book that's all joyous and it's just like, I went to the movies and had popcorn and it was the best day of my life. Like, someone might have been looking at you, or the manager might have come over and said, "Can I help you?" You know, like, whatever that is.
It's those little reminders. You don't allow it to detour you. And again, for Blood at the Root, white people don't even have like stake in the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they're not even. I didn't want to write my again, my Malik Barron he goes through a lot.
Yeah.
And he's learning and he's making mistakes and he's not saying, he sometimes don't say the right thing, and it's okay. We have to, because when I was 17, I was saying any and everything under the sun. Like I was making
Mm-hmm.
and I look back when I was 17, I was like, now, LaDarrion, why did you do that? But you don't know, because
Right.
I think a lot of readers too are so far removed from that age. They're
Yeah.
like, well, I wouldn't do that. Well, of course, I hope you wouldn't,
I
because
hope not. You're
in your
40.
you're 40. You're in mid 30s and 40s. I hope you wouldn't make the same mistake as a 17-year-old teenager. I think we have to, I think we have to be gracious of that.
Yeah.
And I am that too. Like there's some stuff I'm like, I'm not really messing with that, because I see the white savior trope that's happening. But that's still somebody's story.
Yeah.
You know?
Let me ask you this, because you're new into the book space, and like, you had this sort of like public dust up with the internet people. And to me, that's really different than I think a lot of what happens in the theater. And I'm wondering how that feels for you. I mean, I know like someone like maybe like a Jeremy O'Harris has had some pretty public dust ups and like talk about a thing that is really focused on racialized trauma, slave play, right? Like that is the center of the entire play. But I'm just curious, like the like rabid readers who are like so passionate about the work and like want to tell you about that, how that compares to, for you, from like being a playwright, and like maybe people see the show and you're not even there that day and you never hear from, like, or do you feel like it is similar, the kind of feedback?
It's definitely not similar, because from on the playwriting side, I get Black people. Like I just got a message because I have a play going up in Memphis right now, and it's selling out, and I'm so happy.
What's it called? What's it called?
I wrote a play called Cocoa Queens.
Okay.
And it's about 4 Black women living in the 70s. And most people are probably like, now why is this Black man writing that story? And I only want Black women to direct it. And I put that in the actual script, like only Black women can direct this play. And I don't really want to impede even though the director was very like, no, we want your thoughts. But I was like, well, I don't, because I don't want to bring my male biasness into it.
Yeah.
I trust you as Black women to tell this story. But I'm getting messages from people that don't even know me. They was like, even Black men, they're like, brother, thank you so much for writing this play. Because they was like, I saw my grandmother, I saw my mother on that stage, I saw my aunties. And to know and getting these things. And I'm pretty sure people are like, I didn't really like that play, and I never hear from them ever again.
Right.
I think the book community and the way Blood at the Root was set up, and I'm grateful for everything that it did and is doing. I think it's easily accessible than theater, because sometimes playwrights go through months and sometimes years without getting a production, right?
Right.
Books are out there, and I have to fight, but I made sure every bookstore is stocking Blood at the Root, so people go and it's easily accessible. And people and yes, and please don't tag authors in bad reviews. Because they always say authors stay out of review spaces, and I do, but when I'm constantly being tagged in one, you're inviting me into that space, and I'm just, and it's so interesting. I'm new to the book world, and I'm navigating even this week. Even some of the pushback that I've been getting, I'm navigating it, and it's hard for me sometimes. Like I'm human. Right. Sometimes my feelings are hurt. And sometimes I'm like, okay, well, LaDarrion, maybe you're not that good, And I was dealing with that for a couple of days. I was like, well, LaDarrion, maybe you're not that, maybe you're not that great. But also, this is my first book.
Yeah.
And and I'm going to grow, and I want to grow, and I want to become better, and I'm learning craft and all of that. So I'm like, you asking me like, how is it different and how I'm dealing with it? I'm literally like navigating it right now.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure for book 2, I'm going to learn. You know what, LaDarrion, just keep your head down and just stay focused. Yeah. That's why, like, I love Beyonce. Like, she's really like an inspiration of mine. Not even just outside of music. She's like, just stay focused and focus on the craft and make sure you grow and just do everything you can, because you got to think about those young boys who are on the verge right now, who are quitting. Yeah. Reading and maybe want to drop out of school, or maybe feeling they're in the foster care like I have no hope, and maybe they walk into a Barnes and Noble like I'm this because I was this Black boy, and they walk in and they see Malik on that book cover and they like, what is that?
Right.
because that boy looks like me. And they crack open that book and they see themselves reflected through the text.
Mm-hmm.
And then they want to continue to push. So I have to focus on that
Yeah.
more because I want to make sure that they're reflected in these stories.
Yeah.
Not just Black boys, but Black children, Black queer boys.
Yeah.
You know, I want to make sure they're not always relegated to the side,
Yeah.
that they have their own agency. So yeah, I'm navigating it
Yeah.
literally right now. Yeah.
Well, it's a hard thing. And I feel like, you know, when we set up this interview, like there hadn't been all of that pushback, at least that I had seen. And so, you know, I'm like reading the book and I'm hearing, you know, I'm hearing from you, I'm hearing from others. And I was really interested to know like what that feels like, especially knowing that you do come from the theater. And in my experience, like it is pretty different.
It's very different. Yeah.
Okay, this is such a hard shift, but you already mentioned Oreos and Cheez-Its.
Yeah.
How else do you like to write? Like, do you write all day? How often? Do you listen to music? Are there other snacks? Are there beverages? Are there rituals? Like, kind of set the scene.
So because those Oreos and Cheez-Its I was living off on, they made a brother gain a lot of weight.
Okay.
So,
okay.
you know, I have to kind of switch to some healthier, at least some healthier. I know. But you know, I love music.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people are like, don't put music in books, but I'm like, no, I think music.
There's so much music in this book. Is there a Spotify playlist?
It is. So
okay, you gotta send me the link.
Yes, I would definitely send you the link. Music for me, it provides words in the silence when I don't have any words. The other night I was listening to I was writing a love, like kind of like a love scene. I don't want to spoil it for people, but there's a love scene in book 2. And I was listening to the Color Purple soundtrack. And I love the movie. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but that scene between Fantasia and Taraji was one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever witnessed. And I was listening to that song. And I was just hearing Fantasia singing and I was just writing. Because music, I don't know, music just it helps me tap into different places. And when I'm writing an intense scene. So Malik, he told me he loves Kendrick. He loves J. Cole.
He's not Team Drake, I hope.
He's definitely not Team Drake. He's Team Kendrick all the way. He loves some Kendrick, but I love how Kendrick, I describe it in the book 1, like he spits that rap poetry, right? Like I love how he talks from the gruffness and the rawness, but I also love J. Cole because he talks about the adolescence.
Yeah.
And him going from adolescence to experiencing losing his virginity and falling in love and going through the streets and like now in adulthood. So I love that there's a complete, you know, stages of life in his work and his music. So I love listening to that. I think music is a big thing. And also Pinterest. I love Pinterest. It's getting kind of crazy with the AI pictures, but I have to shout out this one photographer on Twitter. I think his Twitter name is Sun Ra. He's from Mississippi and he posts pictures of Black folks, like farmers and Black Southern life. And I love going through his catalog and I'm like, oh, that's the type of vibe that I want for this chapter. And because Gordon Parks, you know, he did the same thing and Romeo Bearden did the same thing for August Wilson.
Right.
I read some of their work. I'm reading Zora right now, Mules and Men, and Richard Wright, Black Boy. I want to dive into the old text, because Zora, the way she wrote prose is just, it's poetry. It's literally like, I'm like, ma'am, I wish I could resurrect you and just say, please teach me. I go to the theater. I watch plays. I watch movies and scenes from some of my favorite movies because I want to feel like that 17-year-old kid again. And Malik is experiencing a lot, and he has a roommate who loves to watch Living Single and Sister. So I go watch Sister. I go watch like the college years.
Right.
And so yeah, you know, and that's kind of like my thing. And I don't have like a ritual. Like I'm like I have to do this. Like August, he said he has to wash his hands. I just write and I just go through it. I go through a lot of emotions when I write.
Wait, I have to ask, what's your favorite August Wilson play?
Jitney.
Jitney, okay.
Yeah, Jitney. Yeah. But as I'm getting into like my spirituality, I think Jimmy Ocean inspired a lot of Mama Aya's like
Yes,
characterizations.
yes.
Because
I
Aunt
can see
Esther,
that. I can see it.
yeah,
I can see it.
yeah. So I was very inspired. Just her monologue about going to the city of bones,
Yeah.
and a lot of people. It could go over a lot of people's heads, but for those that are listening, the city of bones is the Atlantic Ocean that our ancestors traveled over,
Right.
and they they died in dignity, and they are
Right.
at the bottom of the ocean. So that definitely inspired a lot. So it's becoming my favorite play of his.
Okay. I am basic. I do really love fences. I do.
Yeah, I love it. I connect with lions in fences a lot.
Oh, okay.
Just with my relationship with my father.
Oh wait, I also love Jitney. I was confusing Jitney with another one. I also love Jitney.
Yeah, Jitney's
That's
cool.
the cab company one.
Yeah,
Yes. Jitney's
cool.
great.
It just reminds me of my uncle. It reminds me sitting in the barbershop when I was little, right? And my uncles, again, chewing that tobacco and spitting it out in a Coke can, or a Coke bottle. That my uncle used to spit it in a Coke bottle. Yeah, it just reminds me of that in the language. I mean, August. That's why I say I always stand on the shoulders of August Wilson, because he inspires me a lot. Zora and Lorraine. I mean, those are my titans, that I look to.
Okay, I have two more quick questions for you, then we're done.
No problem.
One is, what is a word you can never spell correctly on the first try?
Oh, wait, what is the word? Convenience.
Oh, impossible. Impossible.
I'm like, how the heck?
Where do those vowels come from and where do they go?
How do you, like, is it I-E or is it E? Yeah, like, I can't, or in condolences. Convenience and condolences. Is it condolences or condolences? I don't know.
I am one of the world's worst spellers, so I would not know. It's condolences with an E.
Lens. Okay, so
I think
because that's how I have to do it. Like I was like, okay, convenience. Like it's just
convenience. I'm probably getting it wrong. I get it wrong every time. Anytime I try to spell the word that people can't spell, I'm always get it wrong.
Those be kicking my ass. Like that's why I don't put it a lot in the book, because I was like, I'm tired.
I lied to you. I said two more, but I actually have two. Now I have two more. One is for people who like Blood at the Root. What else would you recommend to them that is in conversation with? What other books would you recommend that's in conversation with what you've done?
I want to shout out this writer, Shakir Rashan. Okay. He wrote this novel called Never Wraith.
Okay.
And it's about a Black boy from Atlanta. And he describes it as Cloak and Dagger, like Marvel's Cloak and Dagger meets Bel Air.
Oh, okay.
And I think he's like, this kid has like this power that he can transform into this beast, like a beast-like animal. And it's about this Black boy. He falls in love and he goes through the city of Atlanta. It's such a beautiful book. And I want to shout that out because it's kind of like in direct conversation with mine. And he just deserves, because I love shouting out other Black authors. There's Ryan Douglas's, it's a horror book, so a lot of us like horror.
Okay.
It's called The Taking of Jake Livingston.
Okay.
He was another Black YA writer who was on the same mission that I was, just showcasing Black queer boys and Black boys in a better light. There's Terry J. Benton Walker's Blood Debts and Blood Justice. Please support those Black authors, because I think we're like some of the only Black men in YA right now that are like creating some great work.
Yeah, and like that more fantasy space. I love it. Okay, last one. If you could have one person, dead or alive, read this book, who would you want it to be?
Zora.
Okay, I love
Zora
it.
Neale Hurston. Yeah, because she inspires me, and I wanted this book to pay flowers to her.
I love it.
Because she didn't receive them while she was here. So,
everyone, the book is called Blood at the Root. You heard it here. It is the first in a trilogy. So you have to read it. Get ready for next summer. I listened to the audiobook. I listened to some of the audiobook. It's fantastic. Great
Jalen
narrator.
Hall is great.
Yes.
Right?
Really brought it to life.
Yeah.
Really brought it to life for me. It was when I started listening to the audiobook that I was really like, oh, I have to see this on the screen. Because I was like, I gotta see. But he's really giving a performance. He's getting in there. It's not just narration. It is voice acting for sure.
He's really one of those talented young Black actors that we need to be looking at.
Yeah.
Shout out to him, and please watch him on All American. They just got renewed for another season on the CW. So I don't know if his character's coming back, but hey, Jalen Hall is an actor we need to be watching.
And everyone, get your copy of Blood at the Root wherever you get your books. LaDarrion, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. All right, y'all. That does it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you again to LaDarrion Williams for joining the show. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Josh Redlick for helping to make this conversation possible. Don't forget, the Stacks Book Club pick for August is Master Slave, Husband, Wife by Ilyan Wu, which we will discuss with Jay Ellis on Wednesday, August 28th. If you love this show and you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks and join the Stacks Pack. You can also check out my Substack at tracythomas.substack.com. Make sure you're subscribed to The Stacks wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, be sure to leave us a rating and a review. For more from The Stacks, follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, and The Stacks Pod _ on Twitter. And you can check out our website, thestackspodcast.com. This episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Lauren Tyree. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tigirigis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.